session is going to be about the underlying metabolic challenges that are very common today that are probably contributing to a physique like this or being unhealthy. So I hear this question often: what is causing my problem? Whether it be symptoms or conditions or even being overweight. I can't lose weight, why not? I'm doing everything correctly. Well, I say the same thing for most people who ask me that question, is if you don't have the energy that you want to have, if you don't have the body composition that you want to have, you're just not as healthy as you want to be. And so your weight is a reflection of your overall health, okay? So nobody would probably look at this and say this person is perfectly healthy, right? Anybody? So we want to take that in perspective. And here's a video that puts this entire underlying metabolic challenge and weight loss and health and wellness into perspective. Well, it's not a surprise that you're feeling so wonderful and so great. You've lost, up to this point in 6 months, 60.5 pounds. A majority of that, 50 pounds, coming from fat, 10 pounds of it coming from excess water. Like you mentioned, you were retaining a bunch of water. So we've seen some tremendous changes and some great results with your BIA. Do you have any comments, any recommendations or advice for clients, for people watching this video?
Well, you asked me in one of the previous videos what I would tell people. And my biggest bit of advice is to listen to your body and to listen to your heart, because I knew something was wrong way before I came and did something about it. And you can do something about it right away, right now, and change your life.
To build upon what you just said, you had a gut feeling something was wrong. Was there anybody else that told you that there wasn't anything wrong in the past? Did you ever see doctors or any other health professionals that said you were okay, regardless whether it was blood sugar or whatever the case may be?
I went and got my yearly exams every year, and I talk about my low energy. I would talk about just not feeling right and what should I do, and the answer was always, well, lose weight. That was it. Lose weight. Well, yeah, I knew that.
but no advice how?
But no advice, maybe it is related to blood sugar, maybe why can't I get up? What's really going on? They never did blood tests, they never took urine samples, they never did any of the things that were done here the first appointment I had.
Well, Janet, I want to thank you, and we look forward to, it looks like you have still some weight to lose and some goals that you want to accomplish, so look forward to helping you accomplish those here in the near future. Great job, and do I have your permission to share this video with others, including posting this on our website for people to watch? Great. Thank you. So Janet came in and she was a full-blown diabetic, and I was able to notice that with my in-office diagnostics. But I suspected there was a lot more going on. So we did some pretty thorough, comprehensive assessments. We did blood and urine, the basic comprehensive panels that you'll get from a number of individual doctors, the specialties. You'll get a lipid panel from a cardiologist, or you'll get a thyroid panel from an endocrinologist. You might get a CBC differential from an internist or from a GP, but you don't get all those together. So I did them all, and it came back, as well as I did an organic acid test. And they all came back full-blown diabetic. Everything was abnormal. And she wasn't diagnosed because the doctors weren't testing for it or looking for it. Wasn't diagnosed, was on a number of medications, none of them for diabetes. One was for her asthma, one was for her allergies, one was for antidepressants, and a number of things. She came back with a number of things, including lots of GI issues. Well, we addressed all of those things, and you'll see some more videos as we progress along in the sessions. And in the last session, I have one of the latest videos with her. She's like 75 pounds down and feeling great. And she's playing tennis and all these things. Well, the literature shows that it makes sense to recommend weight loss, right? And that's what the doctor did for her. Well, just lose weight. Just lose weight. No advice how, no counseling, nothing like that. Well, that makes sense, and that's common sense, right? But the literature shows that's not all that should be done, because this one says, although it remains prudent to recommend weight loss in overweight and obese women, control of all modifiable risk factors in both normal and overweight people to prevent the transitions to metabolic syndrome should be considered the ultimate goal. yeah, we should lose weight, but when there are underlying metabolic challenges, those should be the ultimate goal to address. That's Circulation 2004. So these are the 6 most common underlying metabolic challenges that I see in my office that people have when they come in and say, I can't lose weight, I've been trying for years, what's going on? The first one we're going to talk about is blood sugar. And this is a real conversation that I had with a family member back in 2006, and I summarized it. But it is a perfect example of what goes on in the medical community above and beyond what Janet explained. He said, my doctor said I need to lose weight. My total cholesterol is too high. My HDL is too low. My blood pressure is creeping up, and I can delay heart disease with a good drug regimen. Also, my sight's getting worse. My knees are getting better. My knees are getting really bad. And I am feeling really winded just walking up the stairs. And so my question to him was, did your doctor mention you're pre-diabetic? And he said, no, I'm not. My blood sugar wasn't high. So the doctor, and as well as my family member here, believes in this right here, that, well, I'm only diabetic if I'm above 126, but doesn't understand that there's a pre-diabetic range between 100 and 125, or 126, and that really below 100 we would consider more normal or more optimal. American Diabetes Association says before people develop type 2 diabetes, they almost always have prediabetes, glucose levels that are higher than normal but not yet high enough to be considered diabetic. And so here are the steps to blood sugar dysregulation and the steps to diabetes. First thing that we see is a rise in insulin, and that's important, so keep that in mind because we're going to talk about insulin in just a moment. And then we'll see a rise in body fat. Okay? So we see a rise in insulin and then body fat. Then we see blood fats go up, triglycerides, cholesterol, and then the last thing we see go up is blood sugar. Well, there's the body fat aspect, and this is why we're talking about blood sugar as being one of those underlying metabolic challenges that people have. Diabetes Metabolism Reviews in 1995, they were saying that high insulin is one of the first abnormalities of obesity. We see insulin rising in everybody who has excess weight and is obese. Okay? These are the criteria for metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is that pre-diabetes state. This is diagnosable now. All you have to do is meet 3 of these 5 criteria to be considered metabolic syndrome or pre-diabetic. And if you don't change things and you continue down the path that you're going, the next step is diabetes. For women, your waist circumference above 35 inches, and that's around the navel. Triglycerides, fasting by the way, of 150. Fasting HDL cholesterol below 50. Blood pressure either above 135 systolic or 85 diastolic. If your blood pressure is higher of either one of those, that's also a check. And then fasting glucose above 100. The World Health Organization has 6 criteria, and they actually have an elevated fasting insulin in their criteria. Again, we're pointing to this insulin. Well, here's why insulin and blood sugar is such an important aspect to consider when we're talking about weight loss. This is Guyton's textbook of medical physiology, and it says insulin has several different effects that lead to fat storage in adipose tissue. And adipose tissue is just body fat. Insulin affects fat metabolism, so in other words, how well we burn fat, in ways that are in the long run equally as important as carbohydrate metabolism. And insulin is critical for carbohydrate metabolism. We need insulin, otherwise we can't put sugar into the cells in most situations. Exercise is one of those exceptions. That's why it's so important. So if you suspect you've got blood sugar dysregulation problems, these are some of the criteria or some of the assessments that you can have done. For sure, get the metabolic syndrome done. I do that on almost everybody who walks in my office because people have it and they just don't know it. 27 million Americans are diabetic. 57 million more are pre-diabetic or metabolic syndrome. It's about 100 million people. A lot of people don't even know it and they're walking around. So, hemoglobin A1C, that's your average blood sugar over about 120 days. So that tells you if you're averaging high or when you're fasting, is it just situational where it's just high when you fast only? And then C-reactive protein, that's a chronic inflammatory marker. So my recommendation, if you get these assessments done and you check yes for any of these, well then I would definitely see a lifestyle modification health coach. Someone who can help you change your diet, your stress management, your exercise, supplementation, all of those things.